That's just buying time here for Killer to get that 4th orbital up. He's now moving it into position. He can now move his siege tanks, Marines a little bit further forward, start building some supply depot walls in these locations here to stay safe, and meanwhile continuing to harass with these medevacs, going for the big harassment here on the 5th base, which is starting to become increasingly important. I mean, we see how many drones here are mining, way oversaturated. Well, not too bad actually. It looks like maybe 4 or 5 extra drones there mining than they should. And meanwhile, there you go, Marines stemmed the entire army out of position for frostReD, and this hatchery here going to be force canceled once again. In the meantime, Killer here, getting up to 170 supply, decides that he actually wants to push out. I don't know how wise of a choice this is, as he's got a nice defensive location back here, but now he's going to start moving out onto this creep. Of course, the Zerglings, the Banelings, the Ultras, even the Infestors, all going to be moving a lot faster, and he's got to be really careful here to not get caught on siege. Here comes the army of frostReD. The siege tank siege up a little bit late. Oh my god, great fungals go down. The Banelings here crashing right into those Marines. We see they're all fungled up, going down. Now the Ultras just chewing through those siege tanks. Siege tanks try to unsiege so that the medevacs can pick them up, but the Infestors still have a lot of energy, so a lot of the medevacs there do get taken down. A couple of them will escape with, in fact, 2 siege tanks, so that's not too terrible. And another drop here moving into the 5th base, gonna shut that down again. The army just way out of position here for frostReD. He's just getting picked apart by those drops, and despite their huge loss in that battle for Killer, we see he's actually been trading really cost efficiently, and again, it's bottom time to set up this 4th base. This 4th base is giving him a huge income. Look at all those mules that had been dropped there. Really important for Killer to have just bought that amount of time, and frostReD, who's just continuously trying to defend against these drops, is finding it really difficult to actually move out across the map and try to deny his opponent's expansions. And now we do see that he's actually setting himself up again. The army of Killer was pushing out, but he does scout his opponent at the watchtower with that scan, and he does have a couple of Marauders now as well. 3-3 is on the way here for our Terran player Killer. Drop does go in once again for him as well, getting that stim off, but he notices that there's no hatchery, so he's actually perhaps going to try to go attack a different base, but no, he does drop. He sees a lot of vulnerable drones, and he will go for them. Oh, one of the Marines there unfortunately will not escape, but it does again pull frostReD all the way back here to his main base, or I guess to his side of the map, and that's really all Killer needs to do, because he's getting that siege tank count back up. He's adding the Marauders in so that he can really deal better with the Ultralists, even with the Infestors. Marauders can snipe Infestors so fast. Infestors, of course, only with 90 HP, really low HP unit, as most spellcasters are. But not only that, they are considered armored, so the Marauders do extra damage against those armored units, and you see there 26 damage per shot. That means 4 shots, and those Infestors are dead. We do have now a 5th base on the way for Killer, so he's continuing to try to expand, and here comes a little drop once again into that main base, and the entire army again is out of position for frostReD. He's forced to pull that back. There's another drop up here at the 5th base, taking down that hatchery, and these drops have just been the story of this game for a long time there. It looked like frostReD was just going to be able to win. He was really far ahead, but now these Marines and Marauders actually going right after that spawning pool. The spawning pool will go down, and all of the units except for the Marauder and a Marine will hop back up into these medevacs, but now we see the fungals going down. frostReD getting really tired with all of these drops, and so he actually uses a ton of energy there to clean them up and make sure that they do not attack again. But in the meantime, here we go. Killer, he's got 6 siege tanks set up. He's even started building a couple of Vikings here, because he's starting to wonder if his opponent's going to go for that Broodlord transition, so he's just a little bit worried there about that. But here we go. The siege tanks once again weren't quite sieged up, but the army of frostReD is really strung in there. Took a long time for it to all engage. Zerglings and Banelings getting in there. Nice fungal growths going down. The Banelings here are able to crush through a lot of that bio, and more fungal growths going down, so these Ultras are actually able to engage, but will it be enough? It looks like just barely, and now with a couple more fungal growths, you can actually clean up all of these medevacs, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Great engagement there for frostReD. That's what he'd been waiting for the great frontal engagement, and to stop dealing with the annoying drops, and by doing that now, we see in the units lost tab that he's actually taken a slight lead there, 1,500 resources, and now going right into this 4th base with a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings cleaning up a lot of these SCVs. The army here of Killer trying to come, but look at that, a trap set for the units there, some infested Terrans to give the Zerglings the most time as possible here to clean up some of those SCVs. And now we see the Vikings actually going to fly right above these infested Terrans. And in fact, 2, maybe even 3 of them are going to get taken out. Slight mistake there by Killer. So the 5th base of frostReD now trying to go back up for the 20th time in a row. Really been having a hard time keeping that bad boy alive. But he's got his huge resupply here because he's had a pretty decent economy throughout this game. He's got 7 Ultralisks now, and the entire army of Killer did just recently get wiped out. So he's only got a couple of siege tanks now, and that's really the key thing here. These siege tanks are so crucial on focusing infestors, focusing banelings, and really allowing the Marines and Marauders to deal their damage. And with only 2 of them, I don't think this is going to go well for Killer. And here we go, frostReD charging in there. The Marines and Marauders here trying to split it. He actually does a pretty good job with that split, but now the fungals are starting to befall the army, and there's just so many infestors here, 16 of them, though a lot of them are starting to go down, that the fungals are never ending, and the entire army there just gets obliterated. It looks like frostReD here is deciding to fall back. I don't see a drop or anything like that, but he might be just cautious and worried that there's one coming his way. Little does he know, his opponent barely has any units out on the field right now, just a handful of Marines, Marauders, and siege tanks that we see over here at his natural base. So he's going to push right in over here into his opponent's 4th base and 5th base. We see, of course, the 3rd base mined out here for Killer, the natural mined out, the main base mined out. So these are the only 2 mining bases for him right now. So important. Oh, a nice flank by Killer. A lot of the infestors here going down. He had 16 infestors only moments ago. Now he's down to 4 of them. Make that 3. Make that perhaps 2 as one goes down to 4 HP. But the fungal growths are good, and the Ultras here come in to save the day. They clean up absolutely everything. And meanwhile, Zerglings were just taken out SCVs, and we see that 57 SCVs here have been killed so far in this game. And with so many Zerglings here rallying across the map, it looks like Killer here just might be dead. He's got only 120 supply to the 200 of his opponent, and though there aren't any fungals left, the Zerglings and Banelings should be able to deal really well with the small amount of bio, especially with no siege tanks here in the game. Even more Zerglings now rallying forward here for frostReD. We see once again Killer trying to go back to these tactics of drops, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Banelings here were getting set up to maybe take out a bunch of mules or SCVs, but that's not quite going to work. There is a Spinecrawler here set up, but these 3 Marines and Marauders should be able to deal with the Queen and Spinecrawler rather easily. But here's the big engagement coming forward. The Marines and Marauders here are trying to use the choke to their advantage, but frostReD says, fine, let's just go right for that natural. Little indecisive, does pull back now. Not sure where he's going to go. He's going to push here towards this 3rd base. Meanwhile, the drop does move in, takes out the Queen, and now is going right after that hatchery. There's no army units anywhere nearby for frostReD to deal with that, and whoa, huge fungal growth goes down. It looks like another 25, 30 SCVs there just went down, and frostReD here, he just needs to put the last blows. This is annoying. Losing that hatchery is annoying, but he's got a 3k mineral bank, 1300 gas bank, and he's got a huge army here that his opponent definitely cannot deal with. So frostReD just needs to keep rampaging, get up into these production facilities, and just shut everything down. This drop here is going to finally get cleaned up here by a few Zerglings. Queen trying to deal with that medevac, now dropping on the high ground. Infestors have come back to defend, and now we'll see the fungal growths going down, taking out the medevacs, and the Zerglings cleaning up the Marauders. The last hatcheries, or rather orbital commands of Killer here, are also just getting turn by turn taken out. We even see here the 4th base really getting low on minerals for Killer. So he's just in a world of hurt. He's got nowhere to get minerals from, and this looks like it might be the last engagement. Huge fungals going down. The Ultras here just hugging everything to death, and Killer with no bank, no resources mining right now, though he does land his orbitals and get some mules, is in a tough position. More infestors here coming forward for frostReD. He is really low, though, on units, so he's got to be a little bit careful right now that those infestors don't get picked off, and I might have called it too soon. Killer here holding on in this game. He's only got 48 supply to his opponent's 163, which I'm sure is going to re-jump up here as soon as he uses that larva, and indeed there he maxes out on 6 more Ultralisks. But Killer, he's been doing a great job with these drops, and he's going to try to continue using them here to great effect. This base just finishing now, and that drop's going to hit at about the same time. Bunch of Zerglings, infestors now pushing forward again to shut down the mining here of Killer, and meanwhile this drop these Zerglings will not be enough to deal with it, so it's probably going to do, once again, the damage of taking down this hatchery. And same thing for frostReD here. He's running out of minerals at all his other bases. The only thing, of course, different, though, is that he's got a huge 3k mineral bank, whereas his opponent Killer does not. So the Marines and Marauders do get right in here. This time around, they're not content going just for the hatchery. They go right in there for some drones, but Ultra's now coming in there, and they're actually going to get a little kited here by these Stim Marines and Marauders. No, actually, they're going to hop right up into the medevac and escape, but the main engagement is here at the natural. Lots of infested Terrans going down. The last of the bio does die. Sub 40 supply here is Killer, and these infestors are just going to throw infested Terrans absolutely everywhere, so that rallying units basically just get one shot. I'd love to see some missile attack upgrades here from frostReD, since he has been using a lot of infested Terrans all throughout the game, but he is clearly here in the lead. Only 28 supply for Killer. He did move his main orbital command over into this, I guess we'll call it the 11 o'clock location, started mining, but does give the GG, and that means that frostReD here going to go up 1-0 in this best of 3 series.